The movie begins at a party in Texas, where we see Nick trying to impress a girl and get laid, but fails embarrassingly. We circle to Woody talking to Sergei, making a joke about playing baseball on Mars, where Sergei makes a joke about his wife Terry, who is also going to be a part of the team. Luke waits outside waiting for their friend Jim, and his wife Deb consoles him. He makes his way to his son Bobby, who is sad to see his father going away to space. As they are bonding, Jim shows up, making Luke and Deb very happy to see him. Woody, Jim and Luke are outside, having a great time, seeing as it would be their last night on Earth. Jim brings up Maggie, his deceased wife, making everyone sulk in despair, and after Woody leaves, Luke and Jim have a conversation about Maggie. It's here that we learn she had passed away after being sick, and that she and Jim had been waiting their entire lives to go on the Mars mission. We cut to a Mars rover 13 months later, which was traversing the rocking terrain, and sending back the feed to the team who had been stationed on Mars. They see a strange object, making them all curious and deciding to venture to the area. Luke contacts the team back on the World Space Station, explaining their discovery to them, and informing them that they would be making their way there, but that transmission was delayed. They arrive to the area, discovering that metal is situated under the mountain. They move the device closer to get better readings, and just then, they lose their connections. A surge of energy makes all of the rocks start to fly in the air, to everyone's astonishment. It moves uniformly and makes a shape resembling a face. Renee's helmet is struck by a rock, immediately killing her, and another member is sucked into the vortex, dismembering him in the process. Luke becomes the sole survivor of the Mars team, after he was able to hold on to the ground. It is here we are able to see a giant face formed from under the mountain. Back in space, the team receives a distorted message from Luke, in which he tells them that something had come from out of the mountain and hit the team, killing everyone else. They then plan a mission to try to get to Mars to rescue Luke, but Ray is doubtful that he may still be alive. Phil gets the idea that they could use a probe by the name of Semo in order to take pictures of Mars, so that they could get a good image of the planet. Woody then convinces Ray to allow Jim to be his co-pilot, as he is the best astronaut that they have, which he reluctantly agrees. Phil makes a genetic DNA composition out of a pack of M&Ms, joking that it was his ideal woman to be with, much to the amusement of Jim. They arrive in the orbit of Mars, and to their shock, they see a dust storm making its way to Luke's camp. Woody and Terry finally get their dance at zero gravity, while Jim looks on, remembering Maggie. Shema projects the images from Mars, where they search for signs of Luke still being alive, and also come across the disturbance that was generating from the planet. They get the go-ahead from Ray that come the morning, they would embark on a journey to look for Luke. Jim watches a video of him and Maggie, reminiscing on the times when they wanted to go to Mars, much to his delight. The team is hit by micrometeoroids in space, causing a breach within the shuttle. They mobilize to attempt to rectify the problem, where Phil comes up with an idea to reboot the computer systems. Woody ventures outside to do repairs, but Jim quickly loses his breath due to the lack of oxygen. Woody has trouble locating the breach on the outside, so Jim instructs Terry to squeeze out the liquid from a drink, so that it would show him where the leak was. Jim then passes out at the same time, but Phil is quickly able to reboot the systems, stabilizing the shuttle. We cut to an area of the ship that was greatly damaged, which turns out to be one of the fuel compartments, but Woody was called back inside before he could discover it. As they engage the fuel, it shoots out from the leakage area, so as soon as they engage the thrusters, a huge explosion is caused. They abandon the ship and venture out into the void, with each being tethered to one another. They spot the Ramo, which was their only way of landing on the planet, so Woody tells them that he would get it, being well aware of the dangers it may cause. His fuel runs out, making Maggie nervous, but he is able to attach the tether to the shuttle. Woody is unable to hang on, and the team watches in despair as he drifts off into space. They land on the Ramo, and just then, Terry decides that she would try and save Woody, but he talks her out of it, as she would not survive. She shoots a cable towards him, but it ends up being too short. As he knows that she would never stop trying, he sacrifices himself by removing his helmet, to ensure her survival. Ray receives word that the Ramo had landed safely on the surface of Mars, which we then see the team making their way to the site that was stationed on the ground. Jim realizes that there was still oxygen in the ERV, also seeing the plants that were in the greenhouse. Luke appears behind him and is startled to see Jim, after which he attacks him after thinking that he was a hallucination. Jim convinces him that they were real and tells him that they were there to rescue him. Luke details how the rest of his team had died, which makes them all think that he was losing his senses. They pay tribute to deceased and sets their eyes on the storm in the distance. Luke shows them the image of the mountain, which was a giant face, and finally makes everyone believe him. He plays the sound that was generating from it, which he analyzes to be a DNA construct. While doing repairs, Jim spills the M&Ms on the ground, making him remember the about Phil's construct at zero gravity. He denotes that the noise that they were hearing was a test from the face, to prove that they were human. Jim convinces everyone of a plan, so they send a rover to project the missing piece of the puzzle to the face. They do, and just then, they see a light being emitted from the face. Jim, Terry and Luke venture to the face, where Jim instructs Phil to launch the shuttle at a certain time with or without them. They then make their way inside, with the entrance closing behind them. Jim realizes that the area was pressurized, and that the air was breathable, making them all remove their helmets. They later see a projection of the solar system, showing them that Mars was once a habitable planet that was struck by a giant asteroid. An alien then appears behind them, showing that life on Earth had come from Mars, and shows them the evolution process along the way. They hold hands with the alien species, realizing that they were their ancestors. Phils gets connected back to the team, who informs them that the storm was closing in on them. Jim tells them that he was not going back with them, and that he was going to stay behind to learn the truth of his existence. Jim says goodbye to the other two, and they make their way back to the rover. Jim steps inside a column, which takes him to a ship that was preparing to depart. Within it, it quickly fills with water, but he realizes that he is able to breathe within it. The ship makes its way from the face, sending Jim into the distant galaxy as the team watches on. The end. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and leave a comment about which film I should do next. Be sure to check out the previous videos as well if you would like to see even more. Bye now.